All right. Hey, speaking of funny, chuckly congresspeople.
Yeah.
But now I feel like we need to have a little more respect because he has just been inducted into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame,
We have a
ladies and
celebrity.
gentlemen. Oh my God, Representative John Yarmuth is here. They recently.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Cheers.
I did. Good morning, sir. I did not realize
Good morning.
there was a Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame, but congratulations.
Thank you. It actually is just the Bourbon Hall of Fame. It's kind of the galactic Bourbon Hall of Fame.
Aha.
Oh, I see. It just is based, of course, in Kentucky, but it is galactic.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
It
For
is
that.
galactic. Right. It was a great honor, and I was inducted with some really cool people, 5 others, and we had a great ceremony in Bardstown, which is kind of the heart of bourbon country. It's about 50 miles south of Louisville.
Yeah.
And it was great.
I think I need the Queen music since we have it handy, but there's a statement from I guess the head of the whole thing that said this year's esteemed class celebrates the visionaries, artisans, and partners that have made Kentucky bourbon and our beloved Commonwealth the gold standard of American whiskey. Sir, we just a whole new volumes of respect for you. Congratulate. Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, and I'm sure that the numerous discussions we've had about bourbon on this program contributed to my
Absolutely.
qualifications.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. So, and by the way, I love you with a Bourbon Hall of Fame nomination, and also 0 F's left to give as you're leaving Congress. You just said so. The states' right thing was bull all along. Surprise, surprise, you tweeted. But I mean, it is kind of astounding that Lindsey Graham has blown up their entire states' rights mantra for years and years and years on a women's right to choose, right?
Absolutely. This was one of those jaw-dropping moments that I think both parties were again, both parties had their jaws dropped because nobody could understand why in the world he would do it. Yeah. It flies in the face of Republican doctrine. It undermines one of their, I guess, their biggest election strategies. And now it's given Democrats something to just run with, because it's clear that there are those in the Republican Party who want to ban abortion on a national basis. And we already saw the impact. We've seen the impact that this is going to have on electoral politics and special elections, and certainly in the referendum in Kansas. And the polling that we've seen, and not just polling, but also the amount of new registrations, disproportionately women who are registering to vote on this issue. So it's given us a real shot in the arm, and Lindsey helped us.
Maybe you should send him some bourbon.
Yeah.
But you just said, I appreciate Lindsey's honesty here. Congressional Republicans are now openly promoting their plan to make basic health care illegal and imprison women and doctors. I mean, I think people don't realize how radical it is until you read it.
And, we're seeing and hearing anecdotally the real horrible impact it has on many women across the country. We know about the 10-year-old in Ohio who had to go to Indiana, but there are case after case of people who have serious threats to their health because of pregnancies, and doctors won't treat them because the doctors are afraid. Yeah. This is really the magnitude of this decision. The Dobbs decision is coming to light in very, very dramatic ways, and it deserves to have serious electoral consequences.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what do you think of Ron DeSantis' little stunt and Greg Abbott? I mean, how this is not illegal, I don't know, beyond being immoral and I think politically disastrous. It sounded like DeSantis yesterday is doubling down. He just thinks this is, fantastic ongoing prank, I guess.
Yeah, I'm glad that the sheriff in Texas is now investigating what happened because he thought it was potentially criminal. I definitely believe there is a possibility of criminality here. So, what struck me about it, though, Stephanie, was how evil do you have to be to go through the steps that they went through to create this charade to get these people to agree to get on the plane, and creating false brochures and all of these things, and setting up procedures where they had to report to Seattle for all of these things. I mean, you've got to be one of the most diabolical human beings in the world to think this stuff up.
Yeah.
And all for a political stunt.
I mean, yeah, as you say, the one sheriff is obviously investigating the criminality of this, but DeSantis, after the condemnation, DeSantis and his administration have denied there were any laws broken, and he pledged to push ahead with a new $12 million program to relocate, quote-unquote, unauthorized aliens to so-called sanctuary jurisdictions. He said these are just the beginning efforts, vowing to spend every penny he can on the program. I mean, if this doesn't present the starkest difference of Democrats and Republicans, this is not solving any problem. It's a cheap, cruel stunt, right, that he only notified Fox News about. None of the jurisdictions where these human beings are going, including children and babies. And, it's not solving the problem. It's just, being a jerk. I refuse to believe a majority of people think that's the way to govern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, I know there's this incredibly powerful feedback loop that the MAGA types are in, where they just keep getting their own thing reinforced, and I guess that's why DeSantis doubles down. But this is probably going to cost him a significant number of Hispanic votes in his reelection effort this year. It should, and he deserves to pay a huge price for this. This is beyond anything I can even think of in its diabolical nature, and how cold-hearted can you be to do something like this?
And by the way, speaking of backfiring legally, one analyst said an argument could be made that migrants could qualify for a special type of visa given to victims of crimes because they are alleged to have been hoodwinked into traveling to Massachusetts by the false promises, of course, of jobs and housing, which could be a form of human trafficking. He said, you know what that means? That means DeSantis' little gambit could actually come back to haunt him if these people get legal status because of what was done to them, because of what he did to them. I mean, yeah.
Well, that would be poetic justice. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about, speaking of justice, Greg Sargent tweeted, the new DOJ filing implicates Trump more directly in the theft and concealment of classified documents than anything yet. If the info is right, he can't blame the theft on others or claim unawareness of it, and he brought it all on himself. And you said this isn't just a smoking gun, it's a nuclear mushroom cloud, visible evidence of criminality. Lock him up. Oh, look at you. Lock him up. John Yarmuth, lots of bourbon, 0 F's left to give.
I really don't want to see him locked up. I think that would be the harshest form of punishment for those with whom he would be incarcerated. I think that would be very difficult to do. But I think he deserves to be convicted, and obviously if he were convicted, then he could not run for any other office. There's no question he committed crimes. And Merrick Garland said as much. He obstructed justice for one thing.
Yeah.
And obviously having the documents, making them, taking classified documents, taking any documents and not returning them. All of these are crimes. Some of them don't have penalties, but they're all crimes.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Let's talk about the real world, doing real things for real people. Right. You tweeted the Inflation Reduction Act lowers costs, delivers historic investments to tackle the climate crisis, and it's paid for by making the wealthiest corporations pay their fair share. You said this is a huge win for Kentucky families. Just look at the numbers to see the potential impact. You're talking about student loan here. 597,000 Kentuckians have federal student loan debt. 312,000 have less than 20,000 in federal student loan debt. I mean, again, just Biden's wins. I mean, you could just list them one by one. And it really is historic what he's done in 2 years, isn't it?
It absolutely is. I mean, I've tried to think back. Clearly, over my 16 years in Congress, this was the most productive Congress in those 16 years. And I have a hard time thinking of any Congress in modern history that accomplished anything nearly as significant as the American Rescue Plan, the investment in infrastructure, the CHIPS Act, the things the Inflation Reduction Act, the student loans. It's just, you're right. It's an incredibly long list, and Biden's beginning to get a little credit in the polls.
Yeah.
But it's truly been remarkable, and my name is on the Inflation Reduction Act as the author, even though I didn't write a word of it, but because of the process we used, it had to come through the Budget Committee. So my name is on the bill, and mine was on the American Rescue Plan as well. So I'm really proud of that. But in thinking about everything that has been accomplished, and significant numbers of bills were done on a bipartisan basis too, or at least with bipartisan support. I mean, clearly we didn't get every Republican vote, but we got Republican support for a number of them.
Yeah.
So, I feel really good about retiring on this record.
I was just going to say, how do you feel about the midterms? Is there a chance you will change your mind when we have the blue tsunami that I am planning?
Well, I think it's too late for that. People ask me all the time, because now it's getting real. It's just over 100 days until the end of the Congress. And I said, if you ask me would I want to be there for the first 6 months of next year, absolutely. I'm not ready to leave in my heart. But I know I don't want to be there 2 years from now or 5 years from now. So this was just a good time to step aside and let new blood take over. The man who's going to replace me, a young man named Morgan McGarvey, who's the minority leader in the state Senate, is a really talented, wonderful person with all the right instincts. And I'm thrilled that he will succeed me. And I think the people of Louisville will be well represented. I'm not sure about the bourbon industry.
I was going to say 98% of your blood is bourbon at this point. So is there?
I don't know what Morgan's beverage of choice is, and he doesn't play golf. So,
But are you feeling hopeful about the midterms though? I mean, as you look forward.
I am, and many of my colleagues are now. They've changed. I've always been one who said I was never as pessimistic as others about our prospects. But now that I see the impact of the Dobbs decision and potential for winning a lot of these races. I mean, I saw polling, for instance, today in Alyssa Slotkin's race in Michigan, and she was supposed to have a very close race, and the poll had her up 8 or 10 points. And I'm seeing that in various races around the country where races we were worried about, we probably don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
And, we won the special election in New York, which was a good sign.
Yeah.
So, I think, do I think we have a 50-50 chance of keeping the House? Probably not. Do I think it's at least 40%? I would say yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
which gives us a good
turnout, right? We just got to, that's the thing. I think it's past the point. Don't look at polls or pundits. Just, put your head down and register. Make sure you get other people to register and go vote.
That's right. And I still think, and I've been saying this all along, there is a significant percentage of, I think, a Republican vote that will not show up because they're really not Republican voters. They're Donald Trump voters.
Yeah.
And if he's not on the ballot, they're not going to come out. And
he'll be president of his prison block for sure. Then, so that's
right. And there is this hidden vote, I think, of new registrants who are going to come out and vote on the abortion issue. And, so
agreed.
Polling is going to be very difficult to do because it's going to be hard to model what the turnout's going to be. Who's going to be voting?
Yeah. You shall be missed, but we're not going to let go of you. We're going to hang on to you like a bottle of what is it? Reserve. Woodford Reserve. Okay.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Talk to you again soon.
Okay, Stephanie. Thanks.
There he goes, Representative John Yarmuth of Kentucky and of Bourbon.